An International Monetary Fund Staff Mission has declared that Ghana's economy is showing signs of recovery after almost a month of implementing the support program. This was captured in a statement issued by the IMF after its staff mission, led by Stéphane Roudet, visited Ghana from June 8 to June 15, 2023. The visit, according to the IMF, was part of its regulator engagement with Ghanaian authorities and other stakeholders. My colleague, George Refi, has joined me in the studio with more on this. Good to see you, George.
Hi, good to see you, Aisha.
What more do we know from this IMF meeting?
So this team, when you go into a program with the fund, the staff would always, in time to period, they will come over and do what they call their on-ground assessment of the economy. And recently they did something they call the Article 4 consultation. It's more of doing the assessment of an economy or a member country. They did London, they did USA and all the rest. So it's something that they do. It's interesting that this visit has indeed coincided with Ghana having a program with the fund. So just to get the basis right in terms of why they are here. They came into town on Thursday, that was last week, and they rounded up their engagement that was just yesterday. So what we know more about this thing is that they have made some significant progress in terms of engagement with government. Don't forget, it's not just about engaging government. There were other stakeholders that includes the Finance Committee of Parliament and also some business associations as well on getting different perspective to the IMF program, what are their concerns, implementing this program and all the rest. And for them, they believe that if you look at those indicators in terms of measuring an economy that is turning around, they are seeing the economy turning around. And the critical question or the critical indicator here is signs of stability. Okay. And so you are seeing that the exchange rate is been a little bit stable. You've seen the gyrating or that rise and fall has ceased a little bit. For the past 2 weeks, you've seen the cedi. When you look at the forex bureaus, it's been sold at around 12 Ghana cedis. When you look at the commercial banks, when it comes to transactional rate, between 11.20 to 11.45. If you look at our international reserves, it has gone up significantly. You've seen that the inflation rate, has softened a little bit, even though there has been that marginal pickup. So when they look at some of these critical indicators, they want to link it to us getting the program. And that is why they made that assessment about...
I want to look at the other indicators. We've spoken about the exchange rate, which is very key. What other indicators?
You want to look at the international reserves. Since we got the program, we've seen the IMF support come in. We understand some other donor support is also going to come in. The World Bank has announced that all other things being equal, some $300 million should come in by September this year. We also have other donors, the American government coming on board to support us with some data initiative that are bringing almost about $300 million as well. So if you look at all these indicators, it appears that our reserves has picked up marginally. That is another indicator that they want to look at. If you look at inflation, you've seen that it went down significantly. And the IMF wants to look at Ghana's program starting from when the staff level agreement was reached. So they believe that the stability that we are witnessing right now is as a result of how things started last year, which culminated with us signing the program on May 17th. And they believe that all these things are impacting the economy positively. And that is why when they concluded their normal staff visit to Ghana, they made that assessment that they've seen those signs that shows that the economy is stabilizing. And for two things, what these comments would also mean to these investors out there who are still sitting on the fence before they react. If the economy is showing signs of recovery, does it mean that those practical reforms that government is undertaking, it is going to yield results or not? And so maybe we'll see these investors also acting by coming on board, bringing in those required capital expenditure into the economy, and all those things will happen. But one critical thing, Aisha, you should remember that just like Zambia, a lot of those who are also sitting on the fence are looking at, it's not the money. And I think that a lot of us would always want to look at how much has come in, the money has come, and why the economy is not responding that fast. It is more of those quantitative and those fiscal reforms that you are supposed to undertake. Are you progressing on that? When the IMF meets in November 1, that is the staff on Ghana to review the program. That will be our first program review. They'll be looking at those indicators that we should have met by the end of June.
Okay.
And if we pass that test, it's not just about the money. Again, the problem with this economy is about confidence.
Okay.
So if you even pump in about 20 billion into the dollars into the economy right now, it won't address the immediate problem. People have concerns with how the economy is being managed. Therefore, this is a program that is trying to correct that. So if we make some progress in that area, then that real investor confidence restoration will start.
Okay.
So how will fare in the first review and what the fund will be saying, because most of these investors, they don't want to trust what government is saying. What is the IMF saying about the economy? They are saying that the economy is showing signs of stability. And therefore, if it's stabilizing, then they're going to come on board. These things could also impact on the verdict of those rating agencies and what they're going to do to us in terms of the assessment that they'll give to the bonds issued by government. So what I'm saying is that what they've done indirectly would positively impact the economy.
Is all of this looking positive for our next tranches? I mean, will it...
Our next tranche, all other things being equal, should come in November 1. Then when the IMF staff conclude their assessment and they present to the board, if it's today, the board approves it the next day or next 2 days, the money is coming in. But as I tried to highlight earlier on, that it's not just about the money. That staff report, because a lot of people are saying that, listen, we signed a program, I am not feeling the IMF.
Yep.
Yes, you're not feeling the IMF because the signals hasn't gone out there that we are fast-tracking or making significant progress when it comes to those quantitative indicators and those structural reforms that we need to undertake when it comes to the fiscal space. And that is very, very critical. So when that signal goes out, then you see that recovery being fast-tracked as we were looking forward to. So it will be very critical to look for the staff report that will be ready by November 2 on what the IMF will say based on our first program review. And if you go through the statement, one critical thing that they try to highlight is that reaching an agreement with these external creditors, it's timely and it's important. That could, again, fast-track the recovery and also influence the next disbursement of cash to us.
Okay.
So if we are unable to, I understand that, well, there's been some challenges with government in terms of trying to reach a deal with these external creditors, including those who are holding the Euro bonds, and even the Labour as well. There are discussions to restructure the cocoa bonds and all those things. So if we don't make progress in that area, the magic wand that we are all looking forward to on what a fund program will bring might delay a little bit. And again, not passing the first review even be more costly than what we had experienced before we signed up to this program.
So we have no reason not to pass the first review.
Yeah, in terms of the reform that we should look at when it comes to utility tariffs, when it comes to the improving revenue collections. It's not just about utility tariffs, but again, in terms of the laws, ECG, privatizing revenue collection, they are looking at more structural things that will let the economy withstand the shocks when we are exposed. Some are saying that we were exposed so much to COVID because we couldn't build the buffers that when we were exposed or we hit the shocks, it's exposed that. So that is what this program is trying to do, that implement those reforms, start taking those reforms, pass those laws that will ensure that Bank of Ghana is independent. Bank of Ghana stops financing government operations. So the Bank of Ghana can build enough reserves to save the country for the rainy day. All these things are supposed to be done before the fund will say that you've made some progress when it comes to those structural reforms and we are bringing the money. The money is just an icing on the cake. What those investors out there are looking for is that what steps have you taken to close the loopholes to reform the fiscal situation? And that is what they will react. The other donors who are sitting on the fence, the World Bank, listen, they are also watching closely what will happen to this first review before they advance the over $4 billion to us. Right,
it's something that we'll be looking forward to. George, we are faced with business, Joy Business, and he's been explaining to us. Meanwhile, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, is expected to address the nation on the state of our economy later today. We'll bring you all of that as and when we get him to speak.